Welcome to the day in history for April 2nd, day 17. Okay, today we're going to talk about Velcro, but first, I have to let you know that my tie is green, and so you're going to see through it, but I didn't really feel like tying a new tie, so that's all right. Today's big idea is that nature is an excellent inventor. Now, today's the day that the patent expired on Velcro, and other companies could put it on the market. So, let's go to Switzerland. Now, the story takes place, well, it starts in the mountains of Switzerland. And what happened was the inventor of Velcro, his name is George, I'm going to call him George de Minstrel. I don't know how to pronounce his name in whatever language is in Switzerland. But he was hunting with his dog, and he noticed that these plants were getting stuck to him and his dog. And we're going to come back to this in just a minute, but it gave him an idea. Now, George was a inventor throughout his entire life. He actually got his first patent in 1909 for a little toy airplane. So he was always an inventor. He loved making things, and he went to school to be an electrical engineer. Now, what's interesting is that Velcro doesn't have really anything to do with electricity, but he never lost the love for inventing. Now, as we look at the cocklebur, what started this whole thing is actually a xanthium plant, and it's part of the sunflower family. And I'm sure some of you have seen these or pulled them off your clothing or pulled them off an animal you have, a dog or a horse or something like that. But these plants have a really clever way of spreading throughout an area. And we actually talk about these plants in some of our Montessori lessons when we talk about how seeds travel. These are the hitchhikers. We've talked about the hitchhiker plants. They get stuck to you, you take them off, and you throw them on the ground, and then there's a chance that they'll grow. It's a pretty good system. Now, if you look at how they attach, they look for things that have fibers or things that can get wrapped up or caught on stuff. That has to do with hair, clothing, pretty much anything that has a bunch of little fabrics on them, a bunch of little strands of stuff. Now, if we take a really close look at the xanthium or the cocklebur, you can see these really interesting hooks. Now, these are used, this is using an electron microscope, but you can see how very sharp those are. And if you have enough of those hooks, they're going to hold on pretty tight, okay? It's like a fish hook, but for clothing and hair. Now, before Velcro, there were a lot of different ways that we attach stuff. Now, if we go way back in time, I'm talking about timeline of humans way back, we're going to look at some different ways that humans might have fastened things and attached things. Now, these are leather straps, strips of string cut out of leather, and these can be used to tie things together, to fasten fabrics and leathers, fasten arrowheads to spears. And so we early on as humans found ways to attach things together. We made tools, and a lot of times it wasn't just one thing that we turned into a tool. It was things from all over the place that we had to attach together. Now, as time went on, we got a little more advanced, and we made fibrous rope. Now, this fibrous rope was woven together, and we still use this stuff today, obviously. But it became a very, very awesome tool to create new things and to help us meet our fundamental human needs. Yeah. We also created glues, special glues. Now, this is an old recipe I found on the internet, but we have hundreds and hundreds of types of glue. And these glues were also used to attach things. Now, early on in the 1900s, we came up with tape. I think we did last year we read a short story about how they came up with tape. But tape is another way that we attach things together. Now, we also had buttons and clasps. This is something that we used throughout most of our history. I mean, I have them on my shirt right now. And these buttons, they work really well. But that doesn't mean we can't find other ways to attach things. Now, zippers were pretty cool. I got to find a day in history on zippers because whoever invented those, we need to talk about them. But zippers are found all around us. And they are another clever way that we attach things together. Now, in what year was it? Let me check. 1955, after quite a few years of research and development, George finally patents Velcro. Now, Velcro comes from the word velvet and crochet, which put together means Velcro, or he came up with the name Velcro. Now, it's actually called a hook and loop fastener. And if we go to the next slide, you can see, if you look closely, you can see how one side has little hooks and the other side has a loop. And now what happens is when these two come together, the little hooks grab the loops. Now, you don't have to have every single hook grab a loop. You just need a certain number to grab it so that it stays together. Now, depending on how strong you want your Velcro, you design the hooks and the loops to interact in different ways, and they can make some crazy strong Velcro. I'm sure you guys have probably seen some of that crazy strong Velcro, but there's also Velcro that's really, really weak and easy to undo. So, different types of Velcro. Now, if we look at an electron microscope picture of Velcro, it looks pretty cool. I mean, I think that looks pretty cool. You can see how the strings, the bigger strings that were the hooks, are actually cut and that they interact with the loops of the other fabric. If you look at a piece of Velcro, it looks all fuzzy. And it's fuzzy because there's tons and tons of tiny little loops. Now, I really like this picture. Now, let's see. Let's go to the next slide. Now, NASA really helped Velcro become popular because NASA, going up into space, realized they really need to make sure that the stuff they brought up stayed in place. Now, on Earth, we kind of take that for granted because we have the barosphere pulling us down. But up in space, things were floating around, and we needed really good ways to hold things down. And so NASA realized that not only did Velcro work really well, but it was really light. And so there's all kinds of places in the early space program that used Velcro. And even on the International Space Station today, Velcro is used all over the place because it's so easy to just take something, stick it to a wall, pull it off, stick it somewhere else, and the Velcro holds it just hard enough so that it doesn't float away. That was pretty clever. Now, in the 1980s, David Letterman, who was a very famous late-night talk show host, had this scene where he put on a Velcro suit. I don't know if you guys have heard of a Velcro suit, but what happens is you cover your body in Velcro, and then you run and jump at a wall, and you stick there. Doesn't sound quite as exciting when I say it out loud, but it got a lot of laughs on TV, and it added to the popularity of Velcro. Now, in 1979, 1978, because the patent ran out, other companies could start using the Velcro invention. And it's from there that Velcro really just took off. I'll bet just about every one of you at some point in your life had Velcro shoes because they're a lot easier than tying your shoe. But Velcro is all over the place. Now, I think sometimes we take for granted some of these inventions that make life a lot easier. Now, Velcro is one of those things that showed up, and it's almost like this magical thing that just attaches things together. And I thought it was a pretty cool invention. Now, my question is, what else? What other inventions can we find from nature to make our lives a little bit easier and a little bit better? Maybe one of you guys will invent it. Okay, bye guys.